Good morning, everybody. Afternoon, evening in Spain, where my guest Victor Santos is
Yeah.
is 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 hanging out, living that sort of thing. Victor, I have been you've been on my short list for a long time.
Oh,
I love your artwork. I love your artwork. You seem to always have a book that is on my radar, whether it's uh, your stuff at Panel Syndicate has been amazing.
oh, thank you.
The book you did with Mike Oming, what, two
W-
years
w-
ago?
okay, the Project Monarch book.
Project Monarch,
Because
and then taking over on the space book that I'm drawing a blank on right now.
yeah, yeah, because Mike and I we have made a lot of books together
You
when we
have,
began with the My Templar and later the Project Monarch and now I was
Galaxy of Madness was the was
yeah
was the word that I was looking for.
I
Yeah,
was his replacement in the Galaxy of Magnus, which is always an honor because we began as mutual fans because I knew the work of Mike when he was publishing Powers in
right,
Image and I became an instant fan. So it was great to meet him and we are current collaborators and it's
right.
like, I don't know, it's like a one is the reflection of the other. You know, he's like my American brother and I'm his Spanish brother.
There you go. I like it. And it's impressive that anytime that anytime creators of the stature of the two of you can like pick up where the other one left off and have a book feel seamless, which with Galaxy of Madness, that I love your work. I love his work. When I found out that it was switching, I'm like, this is the perfect person to switch to, but like generally you don't switch artists in the middle of a miniseries and have it feel like it's one thing. And it was a seamless pass off. And I appreciated that as a reader and was impressed with that as somebody who understands everything that goes into creation, you
Yeah,
know.
I always try with Mike is easy because we have very similar influence. We love Mike Mignola, Bruce Timm, Frank Miller, all these artists. But I always when I began my career in the American market, I am a reader too. I am a comic book nerd too. So I understand the frustration when you follow an artist in a series, and suddenly they change the artist and everything looks different. And I always try to adapt to when I had to replace somebody. For example, when I one of my first jobs in the American market was the an IDW Godzilla series, and the artist was Phil Hester,
Oh,
who I
it's another
absolutely
tough one to follow.
yeah I love his art and he's a huge influence and we met by internet and talk sometimes and we have mutual admiration. But I tried to follow the vibe of Phil and uh, and and move this style to my own style. But I always try to make a soft transition to one artist to my own art. I did the same with the Mice Templar too with Mike because
Right,
he has this very more Mike Mignola style in the Mice Templar
right,
because
right,
he in Powers has more this Bruce Timm vibe, but in the Mice Templar he was very Mignola, and I
right.
tried to follow his style and step by step, issue after issue, be moving all the style of the book to my own style, but
Right.
always soft, always always trying to make comfortable to the reader.
Um, Tell me about, because it was enough to make me excited when you announced it on your Substack, but I am terrible and haven't read the first two chapters yet. So tell me about Silenzio, because this
Ah,
looks
yeah.
amazing.
Thank
Um
you.
and again, like any other week, I would have like spent half this week rereading your stuff, getting up to speed on the things that, but this was the what, 87th week of the longest year in American history.
So talk
And I
to.
had two cars break
Oh,
down.
okay. Yeah, yeah. So about Silencio.
Yeah,
Yeah, but this is a very beloved project because yeah, I have been working for the US market for almost 20 years, I think. But I have very strange a strange career for a Spanish artist because usually Spanish artists or a lot of European artists used to try to uh, to get us a place in the DC, Marvel, and doing superheroes. And but it's not the usual to try to do your career with create on own characters. You create your own
right.
stories on or working with writers and do your own stuff. And after these years, I found every time more difficult to get it to get your own stories published and get more and get freedom. It's strange because I think maybe 20, maybe 10 years ago it was easier, but now market is very hard. So and it's harder to me because I'm not living in the US, so I cannot attend conventions and speak with the editors. So for me, internet was a very useful tool when I tired to working with other people and I want to do something personal or something doing all the job. It's great having internet and you talked about the panel syndicate where I made a couple of comics, Paranoia Killer and Ginger's Revenge, and I decided to do something similar, but in my own Substack, in my own newsletter. And one of the reasons was because Marcos Martin, who is the artist who managed the panel syndicate page, is very is works very hard to maintain this place, and he makes it completely free for the artist. He's a
Right,
it's a question of love to the medium. So I
right,
feel a little I felt a little guilty to make him work more and more because he he needs to make a living, of course, like every other
right.
artist. So he needs time to work
You
and
mean money is required for things like food?
yeah, things eccentric stuff like food and
Yeah,
a place to live and these things.
right.
So I decided for this project I decided to use my own Substack, my own newsletter because it's a place where I have people following. I have built an audience with my crazy stories in my newsletter. So make this experiment with these characters I have, and all this previous all this previous chatting is because I wanted to give context to the project, and I always wanted to do this story because it's like I define like a lone wolf and cub meets the equalizer. It's a good definition, but it's basically a story about like a mercenary, like is this guy Dion Bomar, who is ex soldier who worked for a private contract in Iraq and Afghanistan and all these places, and he was captured, kidnapped by a terrorist, and they tried to behead him and cut his head, but he was for some different circumstances. The place where he was kidnapped was destroyed by a drone attack, and he was thanks to this miracle he survives, but he cannot speak anymore. He becomes mute. He has a very ugly scar in his neck, and he returns home, and now he's sick of being a soldier, and now he works like a kind of fixer for the criminal world. It's like it's like a mercenary, but now he works for it's like a kind of samurai without lord, without master. It's like a
Oh,
you.
Ronan.
Yeah, it's a Ronin. It's like the story is like a. I wanted to do like a urban samurai story. He works
Yeah.
for different lords, for different masters, but and he always and he's always with his partner is a little girl. It's a 12 years old girl who is a homeless girl, and is his best
And looks adorable. I'm just
yeah,
gonna
but
just
it's a
gonna
bit
throw that out, just because I did just flip through the art on issue one, and first of all, like, hats off. I always love your art. This reminds me a lot of Bad Girls in its tone,
oh yeah.
which is another one of my favorite books, period. Um, but also my favorite of your books. Uh, but yeah, this girl is adorable.
Yeah, but it's a very nasty girl because she's a homeless girl, so he's very tough, and
Right. Oh
she's
no,
like
she
the
looks like she could kick your ass, but she's
yeah yeah
adorable.
yeah, and it's very and it's very funny to write to write her dialogues because very clever, it's very smart, and she's like the manager of Dion Bomar, and she arranges his agreements of work, so his jobs. So it's a very funny relationship. It's more it's like a father daughter relationship, but sometimes you don't know who is the who is the grown up and who is the boss and who is
Right.
the and I only wanted to use these characters as a vehicle to make different stories of with different approaches of the storytelling, because I love uh, I love playing with the storytelling and the point of view and using these different, because one of my favorite books ever is the Spirit
Oh yeah.
by Will Eisner, and I
Will
love how
Eisner.
yeah, Will Eisner, and I love how Spirit is a vehicle for 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 the things Will Eisner wanted to do this week, or the other week. Maybe he wanted to do a romance story, or maybe one day wanted to do a thriller, or wanted to do an adventure story, or a romantic comedy. And I want to use these characters to do this every month, doing a different story, and maybe the third story will be a tribute to the movie The Raid, with Bomar fighting in a building level by level against, because he wants to to save a guy who is in the last floor. I have a lot of stories done because I want people. I don't want people have delays. If people are going to pay for the stories, they will have a story at the beginning of every month without delays. So
Right.
I have a lot of stuff ready. So we have a story. I have very different stories with these characters, and we have a story about a shootout. You have a story with different points of view of every character. I don't know. I want
Mm.
to have this feeling of these old TV shows. Uh, when the TV shows used to have a lot of episodes, and the creators have the chance to play. I remember, if you have seen Buffy's the Vampire Slayer, for example,
Mhm.
or shows like that, they have a space to play. So they have an episode with a musical comedy. They have an episode with a secondary character is the main character. I miss this kind of story. So
Yeah,
this is
no, I mean, perfect example of this is your co-creator on um Kid Maroon is my dear friend Christopher Cantwell,
oh
who got me sucked into Star Trek. And
yeah
one of the reasons that I got sucked into Star Trek, it's like, oh wait, this is a vehicle for so many different stories, and
yeah
it's mostly episodic, and I don't have to follow like this big huge arc. I just get to know these people, and okay, I
Yeah, it's
resisted for 30 years and now I'm sunk.
yeah, yeah. Never is late. But it's great this kind of stories because I as a reader and as a viewer of TV shows or movies, I love the idea of sitting and waiting. Okay, what guy is going to do this week with these characters or with this show? Let's expect the unexpected, no? So
Right.
I try to do this, and like it's an internet thing, and it's something I do in my own channel. So this allows me to do whatever I want. So my idea is doing a lot of episodes, and I don't know if in the future I will have the chance to make a huge book with all these stories. But right,
Hopefully, because I
I,
mean, it looks beautiful.
yeah,
I haven't read the words yet because I'm talking to you, but it looks beautiful.
yeah, thank you. But that's my idea to have something funny and to share with the people every month,
Right.
and at the same time having something to feel good doing it because I have been working of this story for a long time for of year along some years, and it was like my happy place when I was very stressed about the work or some I have no sometimes you know in our work sometimes you have no work and you are waiting
Right.
for the approval of 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 a project and
Right.
and you feel stressed because you don't know if you are going to have a job in the next month. So
Right.
when I don't have nothing to do, I worked in the Silenzio book. So this was my quiet happy place while I was waiting
Oh,
for the
that's
for
cool.
yeah, so I can't wait you to see what's coming in
Yeah,
the
no,
series.
that's super cool and brilliant. To have that like completely creator-owned project for okay, I don't have anything that I'm getting paid for right now, but let's not waste the hours and let's have something to keep ourselves focused rather than starting to worry about paying bills, etc.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that's really good mental health management. Um, I'm impressed. I like that. And that actually leads regulars on this podcast are a group called Psychocomicology who use comics for in their psychiatric practice and use them for social emotional learning and are just big fans, period. And Dr. Ramos, who heads the group and also is the new owner of Modern Age Comics in Algonquin, Illinois. We'll give a quick plug there. Um, is really kind of passionate about seeing more bilingual work. So Silenzio is being released in both English and Spanish on your website, which is fantastic because uh, much to the chagrin of the um, manga right in the United States that there are a lot of people that do appreciate the Spanish language.
Ah, yeah, thank you. Honestly, I do it because Behoff is it was easier. It was a very easy to me make a Spanish version
Right,
because I write the scripts in English, but I have a friend of mine, Anthony Ayeng, who is a screenwriter from England, from London, and we are partners in because we work together developing some TV shows for in different some of them are based in my own comics, but we have been working together in different projects and he's a very talented writer. So I wanted him to 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 help me with the dialogues
right,
because even I improved my English in the last years. It's very difficult. It's difficult to write in English and don't make any mistakes. So
right.
it's easier having the Anthony helping me with the characters. But at the same time, it's very easy to make a translation in Spanish of every
Right.
episode. So I basically do the book in English and I make a version in Spanish. I have a folder with the same pages, and the only
Right.
thing I have to do with the computer is changing the dialogues to Spanish and
Right.
making
Right.
a. So it's easier for me. Okay, it's maybe I will get a couple of subscribers more if I offer them a
Well,
Spanish version.
I mean, it could also be helpful down the road in terms of publishing collections, to have both ready to go.
Yeah.
Um, but otherwise, it's just cool, and I like the way we've had a few episodes where we really dove into translation in comics because translation is a complicated thing to begin
Yeah,
with.
yeah, of course.
Because literal translation will lose idiom, it will lose
Mm,
feeling, so
yeah.
even with bilingual people, I mean, like you just brought up, it's often good to have what's sometimes called a oh, what do they call it? I don't even
Mm.
remember what they call it, but
I've done it.
somebody who's local to not, okay, we've got it in English, but now let's make certain the feel is right.
Yeah, yeah, and you write very different when you write in different language. When you write directly in different language.
Right,
When I write in English, when I wrote the polar graphic novels, I wrote them directly in English, and my mind the process is very different when I write in Spanish. If you read some if you read some of the Spanish, the translation of some of my Spanish books, you will feel the technique is different because they are very different language. So, for example, when I made the comic book, when I made the graphic novels of Polar, I have the editor helping me with the English, but I was really afraid about writing properly because it was my first book in English as a complete artist, as a writer.
right.
So I have very fun. I'm super fan of the writer Donald Westlake, the
Oh,
uh,
yes.
Richard Stark,
Richard Stark.
the Parker novels, and
Parker. Oh my God.
yeah, and he's really a Stark.
Mhm.
He's a Stark guy writing,
Yeah, yeah,
and I try to do the Polar books really a Stark
yeah.
because
No extra language.
yeah, because it's a way to don't screw up the dialogues. If you have a very few dialogues, it's
Right.
easier make them well. So I try to use my flaws, my disadvantage as a skill, and try to
Yeah.
make a a, a Parker style writing in the polar books, and I trying to do something similar with Silenzio but this time I have as English speaker helping me. But for example, I have other books made in Spain, which are which
Yeah, we're
of
going to
course
talk about one of those in a minute.
yeah, yeah. Luckily, some of them will be published this year in the US. One
What's
of
getting
them is
published in the US?
yeah, it will be. I think I cannot say the publisher
Okay.
because they had not, but I think I can say the books. But one of them is Moon. The name is Moon Eaters. It was I made him in crowdfunding, and I made a crowdfunding, but at the same time it was published by the Spanish publisher here, and it's like a John Carpenter action style graphic novel with supernatural. It's like a mix of horror Carpenter movies and Assault of the 13th Precinct. I don't remember the title in English of the movie. The police station surrounded by.
Pelham 123. Is that it? Assault
No, it's
on.
the no, it's Assault to 13th Precinct. I think it's a
Okay.
police station surrounded by a lot of gang members,
Oh,
and it's a 70s movie.
right.
It's the first or second John Carpenter movie, and it's like a Carpenter style story with action and supernatural things. And this is one of the it's more a B grade movie style.
Right.
Something like you can
Okay,
you.
that's just funny. I just got your newsletter while I was talking to you.
Mm.
I just got I just got an alert on my screen.
Oh, okay,
Victor
okay.
Santos broken English. So,
Uh,
I mean, in real time, is that the new chapter or
oh, okay. Yeah, because I have while meanwhile I was talking with you, I was I program I you can program
right, you
the
can program
hour.
the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so just you receive now the newsletter for paid subscribers. It's not magic. It's just
No,
it's the magic
no,
of.
it's just very technical. It's just it's always
Yeah,
funny
yeah.
when it's like, "Oh, I'm talking to this person and I just got their newsletter.
Yeah.
They clearly wrote ahead of time."
Yeah, yeah. I don't want delays. I am a fan and I hate delays.
Yeah,
So
though I mean I did like and this is more for my listeners than you though I sometimes tell I love how creators desperately want to make certain that everything is up to speed on their newsletters or their Patreons or whatever. Um, to the fans out there, remember that creators have lives too,
yeah,
and like we support them because we love their work and we want them to be able to do more of that in comfort. And to creators, like most of your fans aren't actually going to be upset if it's a little late.
yeah.
Let me rephrase specifically. The fans that are willing to pay for your newsletter are mostly paying for you. The stuff they get is a bonus.
Yeah.
It's I love Victor Santos' work. This money will allow him to do more of that work.
But I feel guilty. I want to. I really grateful, and
Yeah.
but at the same time, I understand. Is
Assault on Precinct 13 was the name of the
Yeah,
movie.
that's what because
Yeah.
in Spanish is sometimes with the movies is different. It's hard
Right.
to tell because in Spain, Spanish people are very creative, changing the titles. So
Right.
I always I need to remember the original title of some movies. Anyway,
Uh,
I'm very grateful about what you say, but I
yeah.
understand at the same time there is a lot of offer there, and is
Yeah.
people used to receive now a lot of content for free.
Right.
So I didn't want to, offer the same, but now what you are paying.
Right.
This is what Disney and
No,
Netflix
no.
do to you every day.
Right.
They offer things and okay, you cannot share the account now. So they they use this bait, no? They use to offer things and later they uh they erase things and offer less for more. And I wanted to do that something different because I understand paying for an artist is not the same than paying for a streaming of paying for it is
Right.
you receive less things of course because I only a person I can do,
Right.
but at the
You
same
mean you
time
don't have seven arms?
yeah, of course. But I want to offer something more than the things I offer
Absolutely.
to. So I try to make this. Of course, I make this book of the Silenzio, but I want to make some exclusive newsletter and I want to give people things you can download, like maybe PDFs of books you cannot get now because they were
Right.
published a lot of years ago
Right.
or things. Or for example, I have some stories I made for the Chinese edition of Polar. I made some short stories for the books. So I want to offer these PDFs
Oh,
of
cool.
these stories, for example, for the paid subscribers, things like
Yeah.
that, special things to people who are
Very cool.
people who are so nice to support me.
Right.
I want to do this day, and of course, be every month, every beginning of the month, have you will have your story or new story, and like you said, it's strange because right now we artists we have like a lot of front lines open
Right.
because years ago we had you had to make your book and send your pages to the publisher and that's all your
Hmm.
job, and right now. you need to have your maybe your Patreon or your newsletter, or have you your online store like I have,
Right.
or you have a lot of
Original art
products.
sales, prints,
Yeah,
stickers.
yeah, yeah. Right now, drawing is like I don't know, 40% of my time. The rest
No, I
of the time is arranging things
right.
on social media, and of course you have to do paperwork,
Yeah.
make interviews
Right.
with friends, and I think a huge part of my daily job is saving time for drawing,
Right.
which is which is strange, but it's our reality
Hopefully
now.
get you as much time for drawing as possible because I really like your
Yeah.
drawing. But I thank you for doing one of those interviews for friends.
No, yeah, but this it's something cool too, because give you perspective too about your own work. It's
Right.
and oh, okay, and maybe internet and the social media can be a pain in the ass, because you have to do more jobs, and you have to be your own manager and your own public relationship guy. But at the
Right.
same time, give me the chance to talk with you and talk with people from other countries,
Right.
and this is a very lonely job, and you think you are speaking to the air, and
Right.
nobody is even if you are selling some books, you don't really think people are reading the books. It's a very
Well, here you're speaking to at least two people. My mom and brother Adam listen to every episode. So, hi, mom. Hi, Adam. We know we've got two.
okay.
Brit's probably listening. John's probably listening. So there's a better than average chance that there are four people listening.
Okay,
Uh,
but even if I
Recently
am
got an email from a guy named Chris, so I think he listens a lot.
okay, but even if I am only talking with you, which is
Right.
important too, it's great having the chance, because it gives me perspective of how you see my work,
Right.
and I don't know, you really don't believe these things until you go to some place. I don't know. I was in France and Belgium this past year, making promotion of the French edition of Fahrenheit adaptation. I made
That was literally the book that I was going to talk to you about next.
okay. So it's I making the presentation. So it's great, because I was I was to do the signing, and do sketches for the people in the convention, and this, you meet people from other countries, and they talk, and you talk with them, and they tell how important was reading this book for them, and you can believe it, and wow, this is beyond me. It's not only me that, and even it doesn't matter if it's a hundred of people, 100,000 people, there are only five guys in the in the signing session.
Right.
It's important for the artist, uh, being conscious about the people is reading your job. So I don't care really if you are super audience, or if it's only your
Right.
family listening the podcast.
I
It's
have a
okay.
few more. Uh,
Okay.
I discover all the time that I have more listeners than I realize, but I like to keep myself humble. So the people that I
Yeah,
know listen are the people we
but
shout
but
out.
but 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 it happens like me with you. You are not conscious of how many people is listening to you, and sometimes
Right.
you discover some guy. You are in a place, and you travel to other city, and you suddenly meet a guy who listen your podcast,
Right.
or
Right.
read their books, and it's always a nice
Yeah.
surprise.
So you just brought up Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
I unfortunately only speak English. I have no aptitude for languages at all, which means that as much as I love the medium, because I'm also very verbally oriented, I don't often buy comics that I can't read the words in. But when I saw that had you were adapting Fahrenheit 451, even though there's already a English language graphic novel adaptation that is good. I don't want to like. put it down. I actually immediately pre-ordered it. Because Bradbury is one of my favorite authors. You're one of my
Oh,
favorite
it's true.
writers. I knew it was going to be worth it, even if I couldn't read a word in it. And I can't read a word in it, but I know the story, so that doesn't matter as much. I'm also a teacher, and I use your adaptation as much as I use the English language adaptation that we have class sets at school
Oh, that's
when
great.
trying to show aspects of the story, because I think it's brilliant. So first of all, I hope that one day there's an English language translation of your 450 poem.
But I was good news for you because this is the second book which is going to be translated to English, which is
Uh,
we finally sold the Fahrenheit adaptation to English language, and I think
Yay!
yeah finally, because I can't believe it because the work this adaptation was produced by a Spanish publisher,
Hmm.
which is Planeta, and Planeta is like the biggest publisher in Spain.
Right.
It's a very big media
I've actually heard of them,
company.
so that's indicative of that because I don't keep track of
Yeah,
many publisher names.
yeah. But this
I would
is
like to expand my knowledge, but like
yeah,
there are only so many hours in a day and so many days in a
yeah,
week. And I have to
yeah.
do
But
things like work and sleep.
yeah, of course, everybody knows. No, everybody needs it. But the point is, they are very huge, and they produce this adaptation, and they pay for the rights, so it's an
Right,
official because they have to pay to the Ray
right,
Bradbury family, and they approve me. The family approved me as an artist. I had to send some samples for them,
right.
and and the book worked really well, and we sold to Germany, France, Italy.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
noticed all of those.
yeah,
I like the book enough that I like every time
yeah,
it sells to another language. I'm like,
yeah,
is English next? Is English next? Is
yeah,
English next?
and Russia
And
too,
this is and
which
this
is
is no
very
offense. Again, there is an English language
yeah, of course, because
comics adaptation, and I imagine that's one of the reasons that it took so long for it to come to English was
yeah,
because it
maybe
has a direct market
yeah,
competitor.
yeah, it's true, but
And that one's good too, but I like yours more.
oh yeah, I I think they are different. I must say, I try to do something different, like the usual adaptation, because sometimes I feel when I I have some of my comic books, favorite comic books are adaptation of other medium. For example, I don't know if you know the Outland adaptation by Jim Steranko,
Hmm.
which is a very it- in fact it was published in Europe first.
Hmm.
Uh, it was the adaptation of the Sean Connery movie of the Outland,
Right.
and is this
And then it was serialized in heavy metal
yeah,
in the US.
that's it, and it was compiled in an album in Europe,
Right.
and this is the edition I had, and it's an adaptation of another, and I love the movie, and I love the this book because it's a huge influence to artists like Frank Miller because the
Right.
use of the black and white. But you don't need to read to know the movie. You can read the book, the comic book, and it's a fantastic graphic novel. And but sometimes I feel some of the adaptation I have read of books, especially they are more an illustrated book. They
Right.
they basically cut cut the words, um, make past the narration, and
Right.
make drawings. And I
Right.
wanted to do something really different. I have this rule, and I never use I only wanted to use dialogues. I don't wanted to use the Ray Bradbury prose because I am super fan like you. I am a super fan of Ray Bradbury. I have read how is the name in English? This story is about a man with tattoos, and every tattoo is a story.
Oh, oh God.
Uh, es que in Spanish is like, something like the drowned man or something, the tattooed man. But I don't know
Yeah,
how is it. I
I
don't know.
know exactly what you're talking about, and it's early in the morning of the longest week ever. Remember?
Okay. Any, anyway, it doesn't matter.
I will know very quickly because I have the internet. So you keep talking, and
Okay,
I will
okay.
fill it in.
But anyway, Martian Chronicles, all this stuff.
Yep.
I love how Bradbury writes. It's like a poet. So
Yeah.
I
The
don't want
Illustrated Man.
illustrated man. Okay.
Yeah.
So I, I, I I didn't want to use the words of Ray Bradbury because if you want to read the book, the words, go and read the book.
Right.
So what I'm trying to do is, if I could use only images to to make feel the same feeling than the works, I will
Right.
always use the images. And like the book is a partiture or something like that, and I was playing the music.
Right.
So if Bradbury is speaking and explaining you how the books are burned and how the firefighters work, I use these words like my script,
Right.
and I only use the, of course I use the dialogues of the, I didn't make this a mute story, a silent story. I use the dialogues of the story, but I wanted to do something very visual because my goal was to evoke the feelings that the books creates when you are reading it, and and it's
And my
very
God, do you
it,
do it? I
yeah, and
mean,
use the, oh, thank you.
I mean, again,
But
I can't even read the words. I mean, but I know the story,
yeah,
and just like flipping through, just looking at the pictures, it evokes everything and unlocks things. I mean, I'm autistic, and specifically one of the major ways that my brain is different is I cannot make an image in my head. People talk
mm,
about, okay, imagine this in your head, and I'm like, excuse me.
yeah. What was that?
um, so one of the things that I appreciate about the comics medium is the way that they will guide my imagery so that I'm not having to do this incomplete thing where like I'm reading dialogue I mean I have and I love prose. Love prose. I'm not like bashing the medium, but like the number of times I've had conversations where people will talk about, "Oh, I love this and this," and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't get that out of that at all." And I'll go back and I'll read it. I'm like, "Oh, I see where this is," but it just didn't register in my brain at all because no matter how descriptive the text is, I don't make a picture. So it's almost like it's just there to get me to the dialogue. I mean, sometimes I'll get more out of it than that. But like from the pros, I get much more of their emotions and their thought processes and whatnot. But the imagery doesn't always stand out to me. Um, so when a comic can guide me with the imagery, like I'm a Kurt Vonnegut fan as well. Um, but I didn't get why Slaughterhouse-Five was why so many people thought Slaughterhouse-Five was so funny until Ryan North and Albert Montez adapted the comics. And then it went from a book that I loved to, oh my God, this is hilarious.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
could
it.
suddenly see this stuff that I wasn't
Yeah, I
putting
understand.
together. We already talked about Donald Westlake, Richard Stark, Darwin Cook didn't actually write any new dialogue. I mean, the dialogue is
Yeah,
straight from the book, but that's most of what he uses from the book.
yeah.
Everything that's not dialogue, he drew. And it just, I mean, I went through the Hunter once where I was literally going side by side and marking up my physical copy to
Ah,
think
yeah.
to try to reverse engineer how Darwin had done
Oh,
his
that's
work.
interesting.
Um, and it's like if it's a dialogue scene, like one page can be 3 pages of comics, and if it's 4 pages of exposition, it's like 1 page of comics. you know. But he gets everything. And so this is all my long windup to talk to me about what it's like to adapt a work. Um, and since you already touched on it, like where when you're writing primarily first in English versus writing primarily first in Spanish, you find that that affects how you work. Um, like I don't know if you've done adaptations of
No,
other than Fahrenheit 451.
no. The thing is, in Fahrenheit, I did adaptation, but using the Spanish version of the
Okay,
of,
so you use the
of
Spanish language of the book.
there's even I rewrite some parts because I have a couple of I have a my own copy of the book, and the publisher gave me their latest edition they made, but they were different translations. So I made my own translation. I
Okay,
I took things from the two translation, and at the same time I bought a Kindle, an ebook version of the book in English to be
okay,
sure. So at the end, I make like a little Frankenstein of all the
okay. I
different.
love it.
So I don't know how the English publisher is going to do with the right with the with the dialogues,
It'll be
because
interesting.
it's going to be very difficult to them, because it's not exactly the words of the of Bradbury. For example,
Which,
in France, it seems like the guy who made the translation, they tried to make the dialogues the most similar possible to the French translation of the book. So
right,
he made an extra work to to make the translation, and look for every word in the book to be
right.
sure look similar to my version. So I don't know what the English translator, because it's like a kind, you like you say, like a reverse engineering to
Hmm.
to took the translation of Spanish, my own translation, and later try to do it similar to the original dialogue. So it's going to be tricky. I kind of
No, there's a game that some of my students will play where they'll take something and put it into Google Translate and send it through like a dozen different languages and then translate it back to English to see what it has become through
yeah,
all of the
yeah.
all of the translations because I mean translation is a difficult thing and it's a local thing. Local translator is what I was looking for earlier in terms of um I mean even people I know that are bilingual and do mostly their own translation, they like to have a local translator that may or may not even know the language that they're, it might be a situation where like the Japanese writer translated it, but
yeah,
but they want somebody in English who maybe doesn't even know Japanese to work with them to clean up that English language so that they know that not only do they have the literal meaning, but they have all of the figurative meaning that they intend to be there, because idiom is different. Idiom is sometimes different in different parts of the same country, much
yeah,
less
yeah. No, it's true,
across
it's
the
true.
world. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Even and I am Spanish, and most of my English I learned by my own, because
Right.
I study a little English when I was in high school. But when I was studying in the 90s, the they have not English professors, they have Spanish professors. So they teach Spanish. They teach English not very well. They
Right.
have a lot. This is the one of the reason I have this super bad pronunciation, because we have this. Because I never learned how the English is properly, pronunciate. It's very difficult to me to. It's
Right.
easier to me writing, but speaking is hard. Now the kids in Spain have very good and they have English professors and
Right.
British, Australian, American, and they study the different accent and the different grammar. But
Right.
I was studying, there was nothing of all. It was very poor uh,
Yeah.
classes. So all my English come from the comic books and the movies. So I have a complete mess in my head with
You're gonna have to come back sometime where I can bring Dr. Ramos on as well because he loves to tell people, and he means it. It's not like he tells them for real. He learned English from Captain America.
yeah, and but for example, Spanish guys we of my age, of my generation, we learn English from watching movies with the
Mhm.
subtitles. And I one of the first books I read in English was the Frank Miller, The Return of the Dark Knight, and I was reading it with a dictionary in my hand because didn't
Right,
understand the half of them. But we have this mess in our head with mixing British English with American English, and
right.
sometimes
Well, this
sometimes
reminds me.
this is why
Reminds me
I
of there used
sorry.
to be a great. Or go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to say that this is why my newsletter is named Broken English,
Broken
because
English.
I know sometimes I write with British words and sometimes with American words.
Right.
So it's a little mess, but it's a way I can improve my writing.
Yeah, all of this reminds me of there was a Saturday Night Live sketch with Alec Baldwin years ago where he played a French teacher in the US and he's like correcting Adam Sandler on his pronunciation and Chris Farley on his pronunciation and then he like the end of the sketch is he's in Paris over the summer and like is speaking like the perfect book French from what he'd been teaching. Um, and some guy on the street, uses, speaks like actual French, and he immediately starts like, oh no, 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 and gets the crap beaten out of him.
Okay. Yeah, it's a strange because like I told you, you have like the different structures in your mind when you are writing. And of course when I write in Spanish, I feel more confident about what
Mhm.
can I do with the dialogues, the different. I can play with the words and make jokes more, puns and these
Right,
kind of things. In English, I must be cautious because I can. This is the reason I use an example. Writers like uh, like Richard Stark and
Wesley.
James Sallis, which is a writer who is the writer of the Drive uh,
Right.
novels, which I'm very. Oh, Cormac McCarthy,
Yeah.
the road. I love this stark, dry style because allows me to 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 use because English for the it's funny because English for the when I speak with in English with some with another artist with an editor with a writer sounds very harsh to me. I always feel I'm very rude. I'm not being polite because in Spanish, we use a lot of formulas to being polite, and maybe we are less direct. You have it's like in Italian, we have very ways to go around of the with the sensitive matters. And when I talk in English, I feel I very direct
Right.
and I harsh. I'm sure it's a very subjective feeling, but I cannot avoid feeling that way when because the, the structure of your mind are different when depending of the language you are thinking.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm an educator and autistic and have various rabbit holes that I've gone down, and like linguists or uh, linguistics is definitely one of them. And like there's a lot of research into the fact that um in a lot of ways um the like rules of any language are kind of hardwired by the time we're five. And but in those early years, we can hardwire multiple languages.
Yeah.
So like some languages are noun first, then verb, then object. Some are verb, noun, object. There's all sorts of grammatical differences. There's all sorts of tense differences, you know. Um, and those are actually often the hardest part of learning a new language is learning the structure of the language, not just
Yeah.
the word to word part. Um, but it turns out that like the more of those switches you can have flipped in both directions because you knew the language young, the easier it becomes to pick up
Yeah,
new
totally.
languages.
It's funny.
Um,
It's funny you say because for example, I speak a third language, which is Catalan, which is a language from the east of the Spain, and it's talked in the south of France too. It's a small audience language. They have like 9, 10 million of speakers in all the world. But I learned it when I was because I learned it in school when I was a kid. So I speak even if I don't speak this language in year, it's really fresh in my mind. I don't need effort to talk it or reading
right,
it because I learned when I was very, very, very young.
right,
English is harder to me because I had to learn older. And for example, I even studied a couple of years of Japanese when I was in college, which I forgot almost everything. But it's very interesting to know how it works because it tells you a lot about the Japanese culture. And for example, I'm a big fan of the manga books. So knowing how the language is structured and how the Japanese learn this language explains a lot about how, for example, the manga and anime storytelling works because it's completely linked to the way they learn the language.
right, right. No, I mean, one of the other reasons that I fall down linguistic rabbit holes is like it turns out that language very much affects how we look at the world. And you were alluding to this earlier in terms of, again, writing in English versus writing in Spanish, and how um, there was there's a Radio Lab podcast on colors. Um, and one of the things I learned from that was that blue is the last color that has a word for it in every language except
Oh,
Egyptian.
I have no idea.
Um, and for that matter, like so much so, if you read the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, there
Yeah,
is
I
no,
read it.
the word blue is not in it.
Ah, I read it
The
some years
water
ago.
is wine colored.
Ah, yes, true.
The word when the Odyssey was written, they still didn't have a word for blue. The only reason it was earlier in Egyptian is the only naturally occurring blue is a
Yeah.
flower in the Nile Valley.
It's very interesting.
Because you don't need a color for the sky.
Yeah.
You don't need to I mean everybody's like, "Oh, but the sky is blue." I'm like, "Yeah, but you can't turn your clothes blue because of that. You can't it's not a different color flower to give somebody, it's just the sky is the sky. You don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to give a clue to somebody
Right,
about what the
right,
sky is.
right. And what's even more interesting is they in like the 70s or 80s, so like recently they actually even found a tribe in the Amazon region that still didn't have the color blue in their language. And they gave them a sheet with 9 color swatches going from green to blue. And not only could they not identify the blue one, they thought it was identical to one of the green ones. So because they didn't have the language for it, their brain was adjusting the color to something that they did know.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating how minds works, and
Right.
comics has a very similar sensibility because I always love to read different books, comic books from different countries, and
Uh-huh.
when I travel to a comic convention to other country, I always try to research what they are doing because
Right.
of course it's very difficult to learn another language, but the comics they are doing is a very useful way to it's like it's like a speed express learning of
Right.
the language and the culture. And for this reason, I love, even now we live in a multicultural, globalized culture. And I can collaborate with a writer from the US, and we have seen the same anime shows when we were kids, and we read the same books. But at the same time, it's exciting to have the chance to to read manga at the same time that you are reading classics of French album books and
Right.
reading American comic books. And I think it's great having these multicultural options. And the most important for the artist, I think it's something you have to, especially if you are an artist, because I know, for example, a lot of people, artists who work for the American market, for example, and they have never read a book uh, uh, a book outside the superhero genre,
Right.
I have no artists who work from the European market that they don't like American comic books. And I think the good things is I think the progress in every medium, it happens when you research in other cultures. For example, I think all the things Frank Miller. I use the example of Frank Miller every time, but it's a very good example because
I'm
when
reading his an advanced copy of his autobiography right now. I love Frank.
oh, okay, I can't wait to read it. But
Yeah.
all the advances Frank Miller made for the American market was because he was reading comics nobody was reading in America at that time. He was reading Moebius, he was reading Goseki Kojima and Kazuo Koike in Lone
Yep.
Wolf and Cub. He was reading Jose Munoz, and he used his black and white techniques. Jose Munoz, all these Argentinian masters like Breccia and Jose Munoz. I think is not Argentinian. He says is Chileno. I don't know. He was reading a lot of South America black and white artists when he was making the Sin City books. So I think when you bring something from another field to your field, you're making your own field richer. For example, or another example I use is David Aja, the artist of Hawkeye and the Seeds, and the Spanish artist.
Right.
If I think his Hawkeye is so special is because he brings a lot of techniques of the indie comics
Oh,
to the
absolutely.
to the mainstream comics. So I
Also
think it's,
Pizza Dog.
yeah, of course. But I think that's the point. When you only read the same stuff, if you want to, I love Michael Moorcock novels. Elric Hoffman, Libonnet,
Right.
and the Eternal Champion, and Michael Moorcock always gave the same tip: is if you want to write fantasy, read everything except fantasy. you need to read everything from other media and try, because if you only read fantasy and you want to write fantasy and you write fantasy, you will write a ripoff of everything you
Right.
have read. And if, I know we are going to see a copy of Game of Thrones in the next. We are seeing it.
Oh,
Copies.
I'm certain there are already copies that because they're
Oh,
copies, we don't know about them.
yeah, of course, but
Because only the most hardcore, I only read fantasy and I've run out of other things to read have
yeah,
said
yeah,
that.
and I was a real big fan of fantasy, but it's difficult to me finding something really excite me in fantasy genre. But my first books in Spain were all fantasy, Michael Moorcock, Tolkien stuff. It's,
Right,
it's, it's my favorite. It's my most famous book in Spain is a fantasy book.
right.
So I love the genre, but it's very difficult to me to find something I love. Right now, I think the only fantasy stuff I read is Terry Pratchett novels,
Terry Pratchett. Yeah,
because he's beyond he's beyond fantasy.
yeah,
Is satire, is a political comment, is a comedy, is a is talking about religion, about belief, about economy. So
yeah.
is uh,
Erica Henderson has been doing a lot of Terry Pratchett art
oh
on her subs or her Patreon lately, and it's been really, really fun.
yeah. So I try to do something similar when I do books, because I have a different influences, and like I said, for example, in Silencio, I it's a crime action story, but all the base of the story is because I wanted to do a samurai,
Right,
samurai running stuff story.
right.
So I try to make all these structures of the samurai stories and make them work in a urban, modern, uh,
Yeah,
western
I'm literally
setting.
looking at just page two of the first one where you do the nine panel grid that that Alan Gibbon or not Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons lifted from
Ah, yeah.
Jaime Hernandez.
Jaime Hernandez, yeah.
I mean, it had been done before, but like the most recent example of it before they did Watchmen, and Gibbons specifically talks about having sent Alan Moore Love and Rockets and going,
Yeah,
"This is how we should do this."
yeah. It's fine
um,
because I sorry,
but
sorry.
so yeah, so we've got the nine panel grid that already went from um Hispanic influenced US underground to massive world changing superhero comics. But the pictures in the grid remind me so much more of like the Koike, the Lone Wolf and Cub dynamic in terms of
Mm.
the angles, whatnot. You know, it's got a manga feel in a nine panel grid with a Mignola slash Oming feel to the character design. So like just on page two, I see and frankly, Mignola and Oming owe more to European comics than probably anybody else working regularly in the US right now in terms of development of
Yeah,
their
yeah.
style. So just on page two in your nine panel grid here, I can see like the entire world spun
Yes.
around and spit back out in a
Yeah.
beautiful way.
Yeah, like I said, it's great because you have this access to uh to all the story of humanity, all the story of comics, and in every corner of the world. And this is incredible, having the chance to do a research of influences and inspiration. Because it reminds me when I was when I was a kid. The only I read European albums. and some superhero stuff, but very very few superhero stuff.
Right.
And when I was a teenager, it was in the 90s. It was when the first manga wave arrived to the Western, to Europe and US with Dragon Ball and Akira and all this stuff, all these shorts, especially strong male shonen stuff.
Right.
Violence and sex and hot girls and all these things and hard science fiction. And
Right.
when I was a college in college, I meet I study art, and I meet a lot of people with different influences. So they show me American classic like the Easy Comics and Will Eisner and Frank Miller, and it was like absorbing all the American the I don't know 5 decades of American comics at the same time.
Right.
And it's something you can do now with internet, and you can buy a reprint of Spirit comics or classic comics or whatever, and I think you and the US have access to the European classic comics like
Most
Moebius
of the time. I
and
still don't think enough of them have been translated, but
yeah. But anyway, you even if you don't understand the language, even you can go and buy the books to the
right.
to
Right.
Amazon France or whatever. So
Right.
or you can
Right.
download for internet. So you have
Right.
this access, and it's awesome because you have all this influence at the same time, and you can think, okay, I'm. Sometimes it's not something you do because you want. Sometimes it's something like you know all the influence at the same times, and it's more an instinct. It's more
Yeah, it was
subliminal thing.
yeah. I was about
But
to
other,
say the way it
yeah,
always reads with the best artists, yourself included. But I was talking to Paul Pope recently too, and like you see it in his work too. All of the stuff he reads
yeah, yeah,
comes in, but you're like again, just going through this first issue here, you have so many influences that I would be willing to bet that you would have to look at it to say what the influences were because it had to have come naturally. You couldn't possibly be sitting there going, okay, I'm gonna go from Lone Wolf and Cub to
yeah, yeah.
to Sin City to
No, it's yeah. When you use
it's just you've built that toolbox based on all of these different influences
yeah,
put into the blender of your own brain. Um, I mean, you brought up Moorcock uh talking about, you want to write fantasy, read anything but fantasy. One of my favorite things is both um I've read both Stephen King and Ray Bradbury's books on writing, and one of King's big things was like if you want to be a writer, read
yeah,
everything. Read all the time. Don't give me this crap about you want to be original
yeah,
so you can't be influenced. No. You think you don't have time to read? How much time did you spend in the line at the grocery store? If you'd had a paperback in your back pocket, you could have read 3 pages.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's true. It's true. And
And Bradbury was like, just write. Doesn't have to be good. Like his writing style was he got up in the morning, made a cup of coffee and toast, and wrote a short story. And he didn't do anything else until he'd finished writing that short story. Many of them were never published. Many of them became part of novels, which is why even his novels tend to have the feel of short stories put together sometimes. But it was wake up, come up with an idea, make a draft. After that, you can have lunch, you can respond to correspondence. Afternoon is for editing, whatever. But like, just do it.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes if you feel like a creator, you it's not a question even though to sit down and do it because you is your duty. It's something. It's more than a duty. It's something you need to do because you have in your mind the story, and you want to take out of your head and
Let
put
it out
in a
so that there's
paper.
room for something else.
Yeah, of course. For example, I have one idea of a graphic novel I had, and it was making in my mind for a lot of time. So in one point, I needed to take out. So I basically made the entire book in pencil. So I have a graphic novel in pencil completely done, and I have no idea when I'm going to ink it and when I'm going to color it. But I wrote the story and I penciled I made the sketch of every of the. It's like a 150 pages because I needed to do it because I need that space of my brain to new stories.
Right.
So I needed
Right.
I needed to see the sometimes the story you cannot have it in your mind for longer because you will get tired of the story and you will hate the characters and you will never draw it and make it real. For example, I have a for example when in my time in the times I was making fantasy, I remember having conversation with other artists, and these are another writers of fantasy and in Spain. So, and they always very obsessed about making the perfect world, the perfect, the Tolkien style, having a coherent, perfect of countries with the name of the country, the story of every character, the story of every race and every power and every wizard. And when I did my fantasy story, I simply began to work on it without worrying about the details. I began to draw and the background of the characters and the story of this war, the race, and all this fantasy stuff uh, came came along without the need to looking for because they appear, but because I needed for making the story. So I think the Ray Bradbury tip is the best because what you need is to begin to write or begin to draw, and the details of the story will appear when you need it. Because most of the decisions you take when you are making a story or drawing a story is a way to solve problems you find making it. So you cannot prepare to making the story and develop a super war, a fantasy, spend 1 year creating the countries and the reigns and the story of this war. You need to begin with the story as soon as possible, and the details will appear later. I remember, for example, I love the. I'm not a big fan of the Witcher stories, but I read the first tales of I don't remember the name of the writer. This is he's a Polish.
Wasn't that Paul Tobin?
Yeah, I don't remember. Okay, anyway, they are the first stories are basically crime stories with a guy who arrives to a place to a town and solve a crime. Instead, instead the criminal is not a crook or a thief; is a monster. So it's the Witcher finding who is the guilty of this story, and that's all. And he had no any history of the wizards or anything. It's a guy who arrives at town and solve a mystery. And I think that they are the best stories because when he begins to uh, introduce these epic stories with wars between reigns and all this stuff is when I think that the story becomes boring. But I love the first sample stories of something you are creating with with joy and because you wanted to do something and have fun with it. It's like I, I I'm not super fan of I'm not a fan of the Harry Potter books,
Right.
but I remember I have read it all of them. But I remember I love it, the first Harry Potter books because they are basically a child's book with a little mystery. Okay,
Right.
we have this monster hiding. One of the teachers is the monster. Let's find out who is. And maybe you later, you wanted to do the epic and larger than life, and it is when you begin to make huge, huge brick books, and
Right.
and sometimes it's a question of sit down and enjoy telling a story for your friends or for your parents or whatever, or for yourself. Because when I began to make the Silencio stuff, or when I began to make the polar graphic novels, the polar graphic novel was originally was a web comic I made
Hmm.
to my friends, because I have been working a lot on franchise stuff, and I have made Godzilla comic books, and I have made things for IDW and Boom, and it was great because it's a very good school for because you need to work fast, and but at the same time I was feel burnt because I have drawing like 40 pages every month. So I began to make the polar
It's a
books.
lot.
It's a lot, and I was doing the Mice Templar books at the same time that I was doing the franchise stuff books. So I feel I was hating. My fear was hating to hate the act of drawing. So I began
That's not
to,
good.
yeah, yeah, completely. And I began to make the polar books because I needed to recover the joy of drawing something, because I feel good drawing and telling things. So this is the origin of some of the books I have made in Spain, or in internet in Empire Syndicate and these places, because they born like kind of therapy of recovering the joy of drawing, because this is I feel lucky because I made the thing I love most, which is telling stories, is my job. But at the same time, you have this is at the same time you are in danger, because maybe the job is something you can hate. So I need to make these projects by myself, even if I don't get a publisher later. I need to do it because it's because makes me feel loving continue loving the medium. Sometimes you are working so hard, and when you finish your daily job, you don't want to take a comic book and read it, because
Right.
you won't forget what a comic book is. And, and I cannot I want to avoid this with all my heart. I don't want
Right.
to be all these artists who hate the medium because they are feel
It
burnt and
becomes too
tired.
much of a job.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But this danger is always present. So
Right.
for your own mind safety, you need to do something for you from time to time.
So, um, I've been like dreading bringing this up just because I so wanted to reread this and have it fresh in my head and didn't manage to this week. But you drew my favorite, well, no, my second favorite, maybe third favorite. There were too many really good graphic novels last year.
Oh,
It would have been my favorite graphic novel in many, many years, but like Jesse Lonergan's Drome came out last year.
oh, it's just beautiful. I love Jesse Lonergan art. It's,
I
it's,
do too.
it's wonderful.
And Meredith McLaren's Meat Eaters came out last year. So I think it was officially my third favorite, but like
Okay.
they're three amazing graphic
Yeah,
novels.
yeah.
So like you drew Kid Maroon.
Oh, thank you.
Which I haven't gotten an opportunity to have a deep conversation with Chris about, and I haven't reread yet, but I did go back and look at the text that I sent him when I was only 40 pages in was that it was fucking brilliant. The layers of subtext, innuendo, and social commentary have my brain spinning on overdrive. And somehow it's whimsically funny as well. Um, so I mean, Kid Maroon was a different kind of book in so many ways. I mean, in one level, it is just a hard-boiled crime story, except that it's centered on a 10-year-old, and some of the issues are more 10-year-old like, except when they're very, very, very not. And like the balancing act to take that story and make it that beautiful. Talking about it, talk to, I mean, I literally, because I should have thought about it way earlier. I literally texted Chris and said, "Hey, you want to drop in? Because I'd love to talk to the two of you about it together." Um, but he's on the West Coast, so he might not even be out of bed yet. Um, but talk to me about that book, because it is such a thin line to take a deep story with a lot of social commentary and a lot of psychosocial emotional stuff going on and put it
Yes.
in like the old time cartoon style and walk that line where it doesn't feel gratuitous and wrong, but it doesn't feel like you're making light of the subject matter. Um, and you killed it. It was amazing.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, talk to me about that book.
uh, it's the point is, it was a very personal book for Chris
Hmm.
because he has write it at the I think he got the story first as as a novel
Okay.
and prose, but it didn't work for him, and he transformed it into this script. And I won't receive the idea because the people from the vault, the publisher, was the people who contact me because they were looking for an artist. But in this kind of stories, I used to be very cautious because sometimes when the project is very personal for the writer, uh, the his presence can be very suffocating. I had this bad experience with another writer. I will not say his name,
Please
but
don't. I mean,
but
maybe off air, but not
but
on air.
no, but he has a very personal project, but and it looks fine because I feel there was not a space for me in the project. He was not looking a partner for doing it. He was looking for a couple of hands to do it. So I didn't feel comfortable with it, and I have not a special connection with the reference of this story, so I refused to do it. And he was really upset about it, about my no. I wanted to work with him, but he was really really upset about it, and he cut any communication with
Hmm.
me. So okay, I cannot not do anything. So my first reaction of this kind of story, when you know, when you feel is very special to
Yeah.
the writers, is okay, but I'm a part of the story too. I'm going to be your partner. We are going to share the rights of this character. I'm going to be part of it. But in this case, with Chris was just the opposite because he's a very generous guy. He understands if you join somebody to make the book with you, he has he can he must be part of the process and take the decisions with you. So even I'm very respectful because I saw what Chris was going to do, and I put all my effort to do to try to get the image he has in mind. But at the same time, I wanted to introduce and share my own influences and my own feelings about the story of this kid and the love for the. And the first was a love letter to the old pre-code books.
Oh yeah.
I knew some of this stuff. I know the Easy Comics, for example, because I'm very fan of artists like Johnny Craig and Kurtzman and Dan DeCarlo, all of these people. But I have no idea.
Well,
For
we're on
example,
22 panels, so you got to mention Wally Wood too.
yeah, I love Bollywood stuff and Johnny Craig and Harvey Kurtzman. I didn't remember Harvey Kurtzman.
Oh, I love Harvey Kurtzman.
Super fan of Harvey Kurtzman. But for example, I have no idea about comic strips. For example, I never read Dick Tracy, for example. So
Well, and there's a lot of Dick Tracy in this.
yeah, so I made a research. I get because in Spain they are published the classic Dick Tracy strips. So I get my research about all this pre-code, the first Superman and Batman pre-code stories. which were more violent and more crude. I think rough. I think this is the
Yeah,
word. They're very
yeah,
rough in
rougher.
in in different levels. They have like a lack of sophistication, and it's very attractive too. So but at the same time, you have this story about the family relationship and lost, and the loss of the innocence of the, you know, grown up. And yeah, I see this guy, this kid Maroon. It reminds me like these kids who are, like Macaulay Culkin, and these kids who are the kids from Stranger Things or Harry Potter movies, kids which uh, have grown up faster, and they have lost their childhood, and when they are older, in some way they have a lack of some things. They have lost some things. They have not never been normal kids. So I see Kid Maroon like one of these stories about a kid who was super, super. He has a supernatural mind with a super clever, is very gifted, and she's a justice warrior, vigilante, whatever. But at the same time, I enjoy it because he's has a friend. It's the first time he has a real friend or a kid like him. He has this trouble with his parents, and I think the story works in very very different levels, which I think is one of sadly I think is one of the stories. I think the book has not worked really well because I think it's a very demanding book because he works in a very different levels. It's I don't know. It's like a kid's. It's like a kid's story, like a children's story, but at the same time it's violent
Yeah.
and it's very sad at the same time. So right now, when you sell a book, you need to do it like I said. You need to make the catchphrase and say, okay, it's like
Oh
Lone
no,
Wolf. It's like Lone Wolf and Cub with Equalizer. It's like Harry Potter but with robots. And it's
right.
very difficult to sell what what
No,
is
no, no. I,
Kid Maroon
I,
about.
this is definitely a hand sell book. This is one that I hope stays in print because I think that I mean, if we look at the great works of literature, the great films, that sort of thing, so many of them weren't immediate commercial successes because it took time
Mm.
to digest them and to talk about them and for people to go, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of those books where um it's been a while since I did a lot of hand selling in a comic shop, but I might be doing more of it in the near future, and it's one that I look forward to
Yeah.
having copies on hand to like start showing people and telling them what to look for because it's the type of book that you're right, there isn't an easy catchphrase.
No, and it's also a melancholic story. Even
Right.
even it's a hap, has a kind of happy ending. There is a constant sense of loss in the story, and so it's if we have made a parody of the genre and we have I don't know, this over the top violence and self conscious story, maybe it will be easier to sell, but I think it will not will be special. My favorite animation movie ever is the Iron Giant. I
Hmm.
I think it's the only time I have really openly cried watching a
I
movie,
love the Iron Giant.
and I love is my favorite animation movie in the animation western movie, and it's a melancholic, sad story. Even it's a funny story. At the end, is one of the story which the melancholy and the sadness is like the original Lilo and Stitch movie, which I love too. It's a sad story because it's a story about loss and growing up is losing things. And I think Kid Maroon is about this too. It's about making friends, but it's about the things you lose when you grown up, and here
Pressures
is
of the world. It
yeah.
just, I mean, there again, there is so much I mean, this is why I said I was afraid to bring it up because I had really wanted to find the time to reread it, like a really deep read to be able to ask these questions, and I didn't have the time this week.
Yeah, I have to read a
Um,
lot to read too.
so like I'm gonna say right now, hopefully at some point in the future, even long in the future, because this is a book that I know I'll be revisiting a lot. Um, I can put you and Chris together to
That
talk
will be
about it
lovely.
because I think that would be a fascinating conversation. But you've given me a lot of your time, so I'm gonna get to my favorite closing questions.
Okay.
Um, my first is I've been doing this podcast for I'm entering my fifth year. I'm like 4.5 years now. Um, and I feel like I live in the Twilight Zone now. The way in which my life has changed in really positive ways because of conversations that I get to have, people I get to meet, um, things I get to do. I mean, most recently, I went from like completely freaking out because on top of everything else in the world that was already more weight than I could carry, I went from having two cars to no cars in the span of 3 days. And because of comic book connections, I was able to get set up with two new cars in the span of 3 hours on Saturday because somebody I know has a sibling. Somebody I know because of comics. I never
Yeah.
would have known them if it hadn't been for comics. Has a sibling who sells cars. Um, but I find that almost everybody in this industry has a story like that. Like whether it's an opportunity to create with somebody or an opportunity to meet and have a conversation with somebody or become friends with somebody or or a fan that comes and tells them how meaningful something was.
Yeah.
Everybody has at least one of those stories and generally multiple of those stories. They're just completely surreal where it's almost they have to pinch themselves to believe that they actually happened, that never would have happened if they hadn't chosen to devote a huge portion of their lives to this wonderful medium that we call comics. So I like to ask people share one of your stories, share something just completely unbelievable that never would have
Ah,
happened if except that you're a cartoonist and it
well,
happened.
the only thing I can say is that I met my wife thanks to comic books,
There you
because
go.
and we have been together for 20 more than 20 years right now, because I was a friend of a book comic book store owner, and he introduced one of his friends, and, and she becomes my. I meet him in a comic convention in the
Right.
north of Spain. And the funny thing is we met at the same time that the artist Mark Buckingham met her own wife. So the four of us became friends
Right.
because we met our partners together. So
Right.
I have a special relationship with Mark
Right.
because we are both of us met our wife in the same place and the same time,
Right.
and his wife was Spanish, and his wife was is a Spanish girl, and my wife was Spanish too, but we live separate in a very far places.
Right.
So we were constantly talking about how to manage a relationship in distance.
It's a
So
challenge.
because he was living in England, I was living in the east of Spain. My future wife was living in the north of Spain. The Mark wife was living in Spain. So we have like this special relationship, and I have they married. My wife and I was to their to their wedding. So it's crazy because uh, we have very close friends because they have this parallel. life story
Right.
together, and and if something never happened, if I never uh, make comic books, and
Right.
the other funny things is I was not going to make comic books because when I was a study I was I thought I could never make a living drawing, so I was going to study another career in college. I wanted to be I wanted to be journalist. So at the end, I cannot get the place in College of Journalism, and I my second option was to study art. So at the end, I decided to try to make a living drawing things, and it's strange because the day I decided to change my career, it was completely my life have will have been completely different. I will be with different people. I will not be with the same person living
Right.
together. So it's strange because the making the decision of make a living drawing make my life completely different, and I have never, I don't know, uh have the chance to somebody make a movie of one of my books, or I have traveled to different places of the world thanks to the comics. So it's strange to think about how my life how be different if this day I decided, okay, like I have not get the place of in the journalist school, I will try with art. So
Right.
it's a you know if I have sometime have the chance to use one of these machines of a parallel dimension, I'm sure my my turning point, my the break point of my life was there.
Yeah.
So it's strange,
Uh,
but I'm
yeah.
very at the end I breathe with relief. Oh well, I
It
think
worked.
it worked. I made the right decision, I think.
Yeah. All right. My favorite closing question. Tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but we don't really have rules. Preferably storytelling, but again, no rules. But something that you love that not enough people around you have experienced and you want them to, so that you have more people to talk about with it or talk about it with. Yeah. Mm.
Something I really love.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I think it's something very linked to the Spanish culture, but one of the things I love most is simply having a lunch with my friends, with the friends. It doesn't matter if they are from friends of the comic book market or of my friends
Right.
of my school. The guy the but it's something that is very in Spain, especially the Mediterranean culture, we have a very strong feeling about doing all the things, eating something good. So for me, it's the only thing that make me feel safe and forget all the stress and the anxiety of every day. Is having in mind that I don't know, this weekend I have this this dinner with my family or this dinner with my friends. The act of sharing food with your beloved ones, with the things you love. Even this we have these dinners too with when I go to conventions, and I spend time with people I love, but maybe I only can have the chance to see them one time every year because we attend all the time,
Right.
all the guys to the same convention. So for me, is the moments that make that 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 you are there's the best of life for me is that the things that charge my soul and my mind of peace to having this moment of sharing food with people. I cannot live it was hard for me, for example, the lockdown and not having the the chance to have these meetings because like a lot of artists and I kind of introvert sometimes and I feel safe in
Right.
my home and I feel lazy when I had to go to a convention at the beginning. Later, I have a lot of fun, but at the beginning, so I don't feel like I don't want to travel.
To leave the house?
Yeah, yeah, but uh, but but I don't need any effort. I don't need any. I have not any anxiety when I have to share food with my friends.
Okay.
And I think for me the best, even if I cannot to, it's not the fact of drinking or or having a party. I don't care about it, but the fact of sharing food with people is for me
Do you
like
have a fit?
the yeah, for me it's like the highest bond I can have
Yeah,
with somebody.
absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have a favorite lunch?
Yeah, it's the paella is a very traditional Spanish dish. It's it's basically a rice with chicken and
Okay.
vegetables, and it's making a
Okay.
in a very big round how's the brand? Recipient. It's paella. It's a I'm from the region where this dish was created. It's very typical of the place I born in Valencia. It's my
Okay.
favorite, and it's my favorite dish ever. And it's very
I
hard to
love
do.
it.
It's very difficult to do it properly. But when you do it well, it's like the dish of the gods for me.
I love it. Thank you so much, Victor, for joining me, and
Ah,
hopefully we'll do
pleasure.
it again sometime.
I
And
hope so.
for 22 panels, this has been Victor Santos, and we will see you after the next page.